Hi again, everyone. Zach Attack is here with my TNA Impact Wrestling review for tonight, Thursday, October the 3rd, 2013. Alright, live night. Well, it's taped tonight, but from Little Rock, Arkansas. Well, we saw two new matches made for Bound for Glory. I was PO'd there's only 3 matches tonight. You know, the 4th match never really happened, involving a debut. And we had the second match being a gauntlet. But not only 3 matches tonight. I know they're saving up for Bound for Glory. I know they're trying to keep the limited matches short because they don't want anyone to get injured. But come on. Plus, we saw in the last segment, as you see by the title of this video, we may have seen the last of the Hulkster in TNA. Let's kick things off with, well, AJ Styles, the man that is set to face up against Bully Ray for the TNA World Championship, the man that Hulk Hogan tried to sign a new contract for last week to, of course, that ego chick on the ego trip, Dixie Carter, prevented that from happening. That led to, of course, the decision that Hogan would have to make this evening, whether or not he would be on Team Dixie or not. Where AJ came out saying, indeed, he's not talking about Dixie tonight. He appreciates Hogan's offer to try to ease these things, but he's focused on one thing. He's going to push all this bullshit aside. He's going to focus on the one thing he should definitely be focusing on. The title opportunity that he received by winning the Bound for Glory series, his title match against Bully Ray for the TNA Whatever Championship at the main pay-per-view, the big one, BFG Bound for Glory. He's saying that indeed, he's been wanting a taste of the championship. He was not able to get another title shot for a year since losing a match against James Storm last year. And now it's this year's Bound for Glory. He had to wait a whole year to get another shot at the championship. Now indeed, he will get a shot against Bully Ray. But as he talked about his plans to regain the championship, doesn't matter what Dixie Carter puts in front of him, here comes Bully Ray saying that you say you hope to win the championship. Dixie's in your head, man. Because I know you know who I am. I'm the guy who beat you before in the last man standing match. And I'm the man who's going to beat you for the World Heavyweight Championship and retain it, should I say, at Bound for Glory. And he wants AJ out of the company. If that could be a stipulation. I think there's a stipulation being added that if AJ loses the match, he's done in TNA. Or this could be AJ's last match, no matter what the outcome is. Because then Bully Ray said something about, I want you out of this company. But then AJ's like, well, Bully Ray, before you focus on me, focus on your match tonight. Well, Bully Ray thought he had a night off. But AJ said, well, Hulk Hogan put you in a match tonight against a man who's going to kill you. Joe's gonna kill you. Yes, Samoa Joe with took on Bully Ray in our main event this evening. But till then, on with our first matchup, which is an X Division tag team match. It was Manic, the X Division champion, teaming up with his opponent from a few weeks ago, but now mutual respect for each other. Jeff Hardy teaming up against the bitter and conceited Chris Sabin against, well, he's teaming up with a man he feuded with, now he's partners with Kenny King, with Austin Aries sitting at ringside. But Sabin did not want to start off. He didn't want no piece of Manic. He kind of stood in the ring with Manic for like 10 seconds to begin the match, quickly tagged in Kenny King to weaken Manic. And indeed, Kenny did take advantage of that, and despite Manic's best efforts trying to get the match going for himself and his team, Kenny King took the chance to isolate Manic in the corner, and then finally Sabin would get in the ring to get a piece of Manic after he was weakened by Kenny. An isolation in the corner, double team effort, quick tags in and out, and Hardy did try to get in the match early on in the middle half of the matchup, but once again Hardy got isolated, as well even trying a big time move until blocked by Sabin and King. And even going for a splash on King at one point, Mr. Hardy did. But then Manic came back in, got tagged in again, and once again got isolated like he did in the beginning of the matchup. But then as Manic was getting dominated by King and Hardy, King and Sabin, should I say, here comes Hardy, coming up the hot tag, coming in like a man possessed, whatever term you want to load. He indeed came back with some high punches and double clotheslines galore. Until indeed Kenny King and Sabin did try to go for a double team move at one point, as they were trying to get control back in their favor. But miscommunication led the double team move to fail. While that double team failed, another double team did work. Manning got back in the ring after Kenny got in, after Saban avoided anymore. And by the way, they cut up Kenny again because Kenny got big cuts last week because of the well, this is the same night they taped that match with Kenny King against Aries. So I think he still has the stitches in his head when he got busted open by Aries last week. So King was still bloodied up, and King was going for a big move, his big finish. That's when the double team attempt came from him and Saban. But then another double team would indeed work as Manic would go for a move on King with a chicken wing facebuster, setting up his partner Hardy to nail the swanton in the 1-2-3 victory for Manic and Hardy, as Saban would walk out of the match, walk out on Kenny King, but he came back to attack Manic from behind yet again. And then once again, for the second straight week in a row, Aries wants a piece of Saban. They have the physical verbal confrontations. But of course, once again, for the second week in a row, Saban runs out as Aries came from the booth and tried to say Manic. Saban ran off without any physical altercation with Aries. Now, if you saw my review of Impact last week and saw my Attack Sports today, I smelled a triple threat Ultimate X match involving Chris Saban, Kenny King, not Kenny King, but Chris Saban, Manic, and Aries. Well, the match is going to happen. But it's going to involve Hardy, too. So it's going to be a fatal four-way Ultimate X match for the X Division Championship. I was half on in that prediction. I didn't think Hardy would be added in it. It'd be Hardy's, and believe it or not, Hardy's been in the company 2 times. And he's never been in an Ultimate X match. He's been in a lot of matches, but not Ultimate X matches. Where he will be for the X Division Championship at Bound for Glory against Manic, Aries, and Saban. I kind of predicted those 3. But I think Hardy would be involved. But I think it'd be a great matchup. You know, Hardy's got that style of all 3 of the other guys. So I think it should be a very intriguing Ultimate X match if it gets the focus like it fucking deserves. Now, we saw the segments throughout the evening of Hulk Hogan contemplating his decision about whether or not he was going to join Team Dixie or not. He was even given a watch. Sounds like a retirement gift. He even talked to Sting in this case, and also had some advice from Austin Aries. Well, Sting had to get some more manly advice, fatherly advice, to his fellow MEM member, Magnus, as he prepared for his 3-on-1 gauntlet match. He prepared to fight the gauntlet, to won the gauntlet against all 3 members of Ego, who have been a major thorn on Magnus' side in the last few weeks. Stemming from his loss in the BFG series, after they kind of got involved during the matchup, and we also saw what happened last week when he got taken out of a 6-man tag match by Ego. Well, despite finding out that knee injury that kind of bothered him last week, stemming from that attack, he went into his gauntlet match confident as ever to try to regain control and get back in the winning ways. As his first opponent was Daniels in this case. Of course, Daniels did try for that bump knee in the early going. But indeed, Magnus came back flying hard. Well, basically, Magnus took control with this big power move. You know, he's very powerful and tough. And despite Magnus' power game, of course, Daniels went for the speed game and the ego game. As Daniels came back in the late going of the matchup, going for some big moves with a big STO. And even went for a submission attempt until Magnus came back. By the way, I need to mention, before I get, I didn't forget to mention it during the last tag match. I like that one move when Manic ran on the ropes, like laid on the ropes in the middle like this, after he got rammed against the ropes and kind of saved himself by mugging across the middle of the ropes. I forgot to mention that. That was a decent move there. But back to this gauntlet match. As, of course, Daniels got back in the game following the early advantage from Magnus. And even Daniels weakened Magnus long enough to set up a big move, of course, the BME. The best moonsault ever. But Magnus put the leg up, blocking that attempt, setting up his own big finishing move, a big powerbomb type move, with a Baghdadi driver as his finish. That's his finisher name. And the 1-2-3 victory for Magnus. 1 down, 2 to go. And the second person would be Kaz in this case. And of course, Kaz coming in with a Magnus who already fought a match against Daniels. Try to get the quick win over Kaz. But then Kaz, despite the quick win attempt by Magnus using the power game once again to his advantage, Kaz went for the knee that Magnus kind of tweaked during the match when he tried to block the BME. He kind of tweaked that knee again after blocking the BME to set up the Mag Daddy Driver to win the match against Daniels. But of course, Kaz took him out in the ringside area, ran him against the post and everything, and going off a big move. But then indeed, Magnus was trying to get back in the game and get another win here. And Kaz came flying back with some big moves of his own. He even tried his own finisher, the Fade the Black move. Of course, Metallica references. Anyway, as Kaz was going for his big finish, the Fade the Black, Magnus countered it and turned it into his finisher, submission finisher, the Texas Cloverleaf that many people have been using lately. You know, whether it's Magnus in WWE or Sheamus in WWE or Magnus in TNA. And after Magnus put Kaz in, Kaz was a tapping. So Kaz was out, 2 men down, 1 to go to complete the gauntlet. Of course, the it factor, Bobby Roode. But as Bobby Roode stood on the ramp, taking his robe off as Magnus had his eyes appeared on Bobby Roode again in the ring, I had a sneaky feeling that Kaz and old Daniels would come in and kind of weaken Magnus. Well, they did. Specifically, Kaz did. As Magnus was distracted on getting Roode in the ring, Kaz came from behind, clipped the knee that Magnus already clipped before, and that basically fed the advantage to Bobby Roode. He took advantage of that sneak attack early. But of course, having that knee has a targeted the knee big time, as Roode took a good control of the early half of the matchup, really weakening that knee. But despite that knee giving him big trouble, Magnus came flying back and tried all he could to get the finish and hit the trifecta, finishing the gauntlet on top, 3 for 3 on Roode. But of course, as he tried his moves with some big kicks and clotheslines, even nailing his big finisher again, the Mag Daddy Driver, only for near fall. He even tried once again the Texas Cloverleaf. But indeed, Roode got out of it by punching out at the bum knee. That bum knee was bothering Magnus big time, and Magnus tried to fight out the injury, going for a big elbow drop. But indeed, Magnus fell into the crossface by Roode. And despite trying to get to the rope, Magnus had no other choice but to tap out. Well, you know what Meatloaf always says, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But for Magnus, 2 out of 3 ain't good enough for him. He wants to get the trifecta. He's a perfectionist, you know. He always gets this close for winning the matches that really matter, but he fails every time. I think ego's getting in his head big time, and especially after the match, after losing to losing the Roode, kind of helped by Kaz's sneak attack. Despite the crowd reassuring Magnus, applauding him, Magnus had himself a Bobby Roode type temper tantrum. He threw a chair which prompted the arrival of Sting to try to calm Magnus down. But Magnus was hot. He had been sick and tired of losing the big matches when he needed to win the big matches the most. He was sick and tired of getting too close and not being able to grab the brass ring, should he say. And Sting's like, when I took my opportunity, I had my opportunities many times and I failed, but I got back up and I got that one match. And that's what Magnus wants. He wants that one big match. He wants to win the big one. And he hasn't won that big one because he lost the opportunity to fight in the BFG series. And I said it when he lost that I think AJ should not have won, but to enable this whole AJ Dixie thing, all fine for me. But I hope Magnus does get an opportunity down the road. But of course, Magnus won that one big match to get himself over, should I say, to finally achieve the big victory. It's things like, well, Ric Flair gave me that opportunity. And Magnus like, I want that opportunity. Who's going to give me that opportunity? Sting's like, me. So that means we have another match added for BFG besides the X Division Ultimate X match. We got Main Event Mafia members going head-to-head. Magnus against Sting. That's going to be very intense there. And Magnus should... I hope Magnus does win. I love Sting and all, but I think Sting's going to do the right thing and lose to Magnus to get him over. You know, because Sting is a veteran. You know, he's a veteran guy. He's a former multi-time world champion. I hope his ego ain't as big as AJ's. You know, I love AJ, but I think AJ should have gotten Magnus over by losing the Bound for Glory series. like I said, but at least the only good thing about AJ winning is that we had this whole storyline with him and Dixie. That's the only good thing coming out of this. And it could be a good way to white AJ out if he ends up leaving TNA after this pay-per-view. But still, I hope Magnus does get a shot one day. And I hope that he gets a jump start by beating Sting at BFG. I hope Sting does get him over by losing to Magnus. That's just my opinion. I think Sting would do the right thing and push this new talent and give Magnus a push and hopefully push him even further and finally get him an opportunity and finally win the championship. Magnus losing could help him. I would have loved him to win, but I think losing is going to help him try to get more confidence, especially if he beats Sting at BFG. Speaking of BFG, Battle for Glory onto a match that was supposed to determine a number one contender for the Women's Knockouts Championship, of course, to take on ODB. We would have Brooke from Ace and Eights to take on Velvet Sky, with her boyfriend not accompanying her to ringside. Chris Sabin and Bully Ray would not be there too. Well, it made perfect sense that both boyfriends were not there because before Brooke and Velvet would get started, a new knockout that we saw a little video for last week made her debut as Lady Tapa. Of course, the niece of the Barbarian came out and attacked Velvet as Brooke avoided further contact with this Lady Tapa chick. And I've said this. I know a lot of people said that I forgot the chick who lost the Lady Tapa on the gut check. I know a lot of people thought, I think it was like Marisa, like Clarice or Maurice, or some Spanish chick. And I think a lot of people thought she should have won. I even saw signs after Lady Tapa won that the person that was up against Lady Tapa should have won. But I think Tapa had more the agility and more the she's like the Awesome Kong, but not as fat. She's very tall, very muscular. She really manhandled Velvet and prevented the match from happening. But I think it was a setup for Lady Tapa to get the title shot against ODB. Because we wouldn't want to see face against face, ODB and Velvet. That's rare opportunity to see face against face. But now with Lady Tapa in, and of course ODB had a fair share with Awesome Kong. We'll see how she handles this chick, Lady Tapa. But that's what I predict. Lady Tapa will either get a shot, either A, being named by it, being named number one contender, or being in a match against Velvet and Brooke next week, making a triple threat number one contenders match to have Lady Tapa win. Speaking of things to happen next week, after Wood's victory over Magnus in the Gauntlet, Eagle wants to steal the spotlight from Kurt Angle's upcoming Hall of Fame by having their own Eagle Hall of Fame ceremony to induct Bobby Roode in their own little fake Hall of Fame. So there you go with that. So now, on with our main event. Like I said, we only had 3 real matches tonight. Because the 4th match, the Women's Knockouts number one contender match, never happened. With Lady Tapa making a debut. So we would have Samoa Joe taking on Bully Ray, of course, non-title. Of course, I wish the crowd was chanting Joe's gonna kill you. I love that. I love that chant. Joe's gonna kill you. And by the way, TNA's TV 14, right? Then why did they bleep Bobby Roode? Bobby Roode, I mentioned this. Bobby Roode during his match with Magnus, he's like, I'm gonna kick your ass. They bleeped ass. And then during Bully Ray's match against Samoa Joe, he's like, you son of a... I think he saw what they did with Bobby Roode, so he didn't say bitch. We saw blood with Katie King. It is supposed to be TV 14. Why bleep swearing? TNA, WTF, what the fuck? Anyway, on with the action of this main event. As Samoa Joe indeed, of course, these are 2 big, tough dudes here. Both from the main event mafia and, of course, Aces and Eights. We didn't see any of the Aces and Eights members tonight. We didn't see Bischoff or Nux. I think we can see them next week, especially this whole Aces and Eights breaking down with Briscoe getting kicked out last week. So anyway, Joe indeed came out from the outset, coming in with his big power moves, but the Bully Ray did try to cheat his way to the victory by trying to use a steel chain at one point after Joe came in with some big insecurity kicks. And there was a little cut on the tip, like right around this area of Bully's face, a little trip of blood came out as Joe was delivering hammer fists to indeed Bully Ray. He even tried to Nikita clutch at one point. Well, sleeper hold / Nikita clutch. I called it that. But then Bully Ray did try to use the chain at one point, and we would see that chain again during the matchup. But as he tried to use the chain the first time, referee Hebner took it away. And as Hebner was taking it away, he didn't see Bully Ray take advantage of the match by giving Joe a low blow. And of course, after the break, we would saw Bully Ray fully take control by beating up Joe outside the ring and really taking it to Joe with some power moves. And then Joe tried to come back with a big black back splash, and a big atomic drop and try to come back in the game after Bully Ray got his way, following the low blow after the referee was trying to take the chain away. And of course, the chain would come back into play. As Samoa Joe was going for a big finish, Bully Ray nailed, where he basically pushed Samoa Joe into the referee. However, and with referee out, Joe did get the Nikita clutch in, or a sleeper hold in, kind of a sleeper hold / Nikita clutch, and Bully Ray was a tapping. But of course, with the referee down, indeed, referee was down and out. So Joe was trying to revive Hebner, and then as he was trying to revive him, like I said, Bully Ray brought the chain back into play. And then before we get to nail Joe with it, Joe blocked the attempt as Bully Ray went off the top rope. And he finally got to use the chain. Like, I thought Joe knocked the chain off him when he punched him. But the chain stayed on Bully Ray's hand. And Bully Ray get up at the top rope and nailed Joe with the chain. But referee Hebner was somewhat getting himself back up to speed. Getting himself back up. And he kind of saw Bully Ray nail Joe with the chain. So Bully Ray got disqualified. So the main event ends in a DQ. After Bully Ray was seen by Hebner hitting Joe with the chain. He pushed the referee as he beat up Joe post-match attack. As Bully Ray was taking care of Joe outside the ring in a post-match attack, here comes AJ Styles, who I did mention got kicked out of the arena per orders of course, Dixie Carter. So AJ, I should have guessed he was going to sneak back in at one point. So AJ ran through the crowd and kicked the hell out of Bully Ray as he was going to destroy Joe by he was attempting to pile drive on the concrete again. But AJ blocked that from happening by nailing Bully Ray with a kick before running off to avoid security, running through the crowd, as AJ Styles sent one big message to Bully Ray, finally starting the feud with him and Bully, getting ready for the big match at Bound for Glory. Now, on with a man who may not even be at Bound for Glory after what happened in our last segment. Of course, Hulk Hogan would have to make a decision on whether or not he would ride the Dixie train. He's going off the rails on the Dixie train. Or basically be against Dixie in this case. And I said it on the Attack Sports today and also last week that Hulk Hogan's contract was up. And I think they're going to try to find a way to write Hulk Hogan out of TNA because of his contract problems. Well, I think they found a way to write Hogan out. Dixie came out wanting Hogan to tell her answer. And Hogan's like, well, the opportunity's here to be a power couple with you, that us two would be powerful, and we would take control of this company with an iron fist. You know, take a beautiful woman and team up with her. But at the end of the day, he's going to make the right decision for him and his personal self. But he said, I quit. And as he walked off the ramp after quitting, Dixie basically begged him to try to come back. She even humped his leg. Jumped on his leg, trying to plead with him to reconsider. But then Hogan walked away with Dixie saying, you quit? Well, you're fired. Well, like I said, this is their way of winding up Hogan. This Hogan, because like I said, Hogan's contract is up, and, who knows if Hogan is going to come back. At least they're going to wind him off now, getting him fired, or him quitting, to have him be off television for a while until he can settle his contract with TNA, or not settle at all and leave. So who knows what's going to happen with Hogan's off-screen situation. But on-screen, Hulk Hogan's gone from TNA. He quit and not taking Dixie on an offer. That's how he ended back with a distraught Dixie Carter. Very happy that Hogan left and quitting. Because like I said, if he was against Dixie, I thought it would be... Like if he said it was going to be against Dixie, I knew there was going to be some way to write him off. And like I said, there was a way to write him off. He left the company. Storyline-wise, it could be a storyline way of saying, na 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 na, na 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 na, hey Hogan, goodbye. And some would say good riddance, especially Dixie. That is it for my TNA Impact review for tonight. I will see you all later. With that in mind, you've all been attacked by the review from Zach. Thank you all very much for watching. Have a great weekend, everybody. Yeah.